I'm 99 years old, and the person who changed my life the most is the one I spent years trying to erase. Not because he hurt me in a way people could easily see, because he didn't. From the outside, there was nothing dramatic to point at. No loud arguments, no broken doors, no clear reason to leave. And that's what made it worse. Because when something breaks quietly, no one believes you when you say it's broken. I met him when I was 31, old enough to think I understood people, young enough to be wrong about it. He wasn't charming, didn't try to impress me, didn't say the right things at the right time, and somehow that felt honest, different, safe. He noticed things about me, small things, the way I spoke, the way I paused before answering, the way I adjusted myself depending on who I was with. "You changed too much," he said once. Not as an insult, just a statement. I laughed it off, told him everyone does that. He didn't argue, he just watched. That was his way. He didn't fight, he observed, and when he spoke, it stayed. At first it felt like attention, like someone finally seeing me clearly. But there's a difference between being seen and being examined. And I didn't understand that then. We got married 2 years later, quiet ceremony, nothing excessive, just a beginning that felt stable. The first few months were calm, predictable. We built routines, morning tea, evening silence. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was direct, sharp. "Why do you say yes when you mean no?" I remember that one, clear as anything. I felt uncomfortable because I didn't have an answer. I said something small, something safe. He didn't react, just looked at me like he was waiting for something more honest. That look, it followed me. Over time, he started saying more things like that. "You apologize too quickly. You avoid saying what you actually think. You disappear in conversations. Not loudly, not aggressively, just accurately." And accuracy can feel like an attack when you're not ready for it. I started feeling tense around him, careful. Not because I was afraid of him, because I felt exposed. Like he could see parts of me I hadn't even looked at myself. And instead of facing that, I did something easier. I made him the problem. I told myself he was too harsh, too cold, too difficult. That word stayed in my mind. Difficult. And once you give someone that label, everything they do starts to fit it. Even when it doesn't. There was a night I still remember. We were sitting at the table, quiet, and he said, "You don't know what you want." Not angry, not accusing, just certain. That sentence, it stayed, because something in me knew it was true, and I hated that feeling. So I pushed it away, told myself he was wrong, that he was trying to control me, that he didn't understand me. It's easier to believe that. Easier than asking yourself, what if he does? Years passed like that. No big fights, just small, constant tension. He would point something out. I would resist. He would stay quiet. I would feel judged. And slowly, I started pulling away, emotionally. I stopped sharing things, stopped explaining myself, stopped trying. Because I thought, if I stayed quiet, I wouldn't feel that discomfort. But silence doesn't protect you. It just hides things. And hidden things don't disappear. They grow. Until one day, they show up in a way you can't ignore anymore. And that day came. Not with shouting, not with drama, but with a moment so small, it almost didn't feel important. Until it changed everything. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. Nothing unusual, no signs that anything was about to shift. I was standing in the kitchen, doing what I always did, moving, fixing, adjusting small things that didn't really need fixing. He was sitting in the other room, quiet. And then he said something, not loudly, just enough for me to hear. "Come sit for a minute." I almost didn't. I said, "I'll come in a bit." That word, later, it had become part of me. But this time, he didn't let it pass. "No," he said, "now." There was something in his tone, not anger, finality. So I sat, across from him, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he looked at me, not quickly, not casually, properly. And he said, "You've built your whole life around avoiding discomfort." I felt it immediately. That resistance, that urge to defend myself, to say something, anything. But I didn't, because something in me knew this was different. This wasn't one of his usual observations. This was something else. He continued, "You don't choose what you want. You choose what feels easier." I remember gripping my hands together, because every part of me wanted to reject that. But I couldn't. Not fully, because I had started noticing it too. The way I avoided conflict, the way I adjusted before anyone asked, the way I stayed quiet, even when I had something to say. And suddenly, it wasn't just his voice anymore. It was mine too. That's the moment everything shifts. When the truth stops coming from someone else and starts coming from inside you. It's uncomfortable, because you can't argue with it. You can only sit with it. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because for the first time, I didn't have a defense. That silence between us, it felt different. Not tense, clear. And that clarity, it stayed. After that day, something changed. Not in him, in me. I started paying attention to my own reactions, to the way I spoke, to the moments I held back. And I saw it clearly. I wasn't being controlled. I was being revealed. And that realization, it wasn't comforting. It was heavy, because it meant I had been living a life that wasn't fully mine. I had been adjusting so much that I didn't even know what I actually wanted anymore. That kind of awareness, it doesn't fix things immediately. It unsettles you. It forces you to change, slowly, uncomfortably. I started speaking differently. Small things. Saying no, disagreeing, not apologizing automatically. And every time I did, it felt strange, like I was learning something new. But also, like I was returning to something I had ignored. He noticed. Of course he did. But he didn't say anything. He just listened. And that confused me, because I had spent years believing he wanted to control me. But now, he was giving me space. Real space. The kind I had never taken before. That's when I understood something I wasn't ready to accept earlier. He wasn't trying to change me. He was refusing to let me stay hidden. And that's a very different thing. Now, at 99, when I look back at my life, I don't see him the way I used to. For years, I called him the wrong person. The difficult one. The one who made everything harder. The one I had to survive. But I was wrong. Not about everything, but about him. Because what I thought was harm was actually exposure. And exposure feels harsh when you're not ready to see yourself clearly. We don't like people who reflect us honestly. We like people who make us comfortable, who agree, who don't challenge us. But comfort, it doesn't always lead to growth. Sometimes, it keeps you exactly where you are. And I was staying the same for years until someone refused to let me. We didn't have a perfect relationship. That's not what this is. We didn't suddenly become close in a way people imagine. There were still differences, still distance, but something important changed. I stopped hiding from him and from myself, and that changed everything. Not instantly, but steadily. I started making choices that actually felt like mine, speaking in ways that felt real, sitting in discomfort instead of running from it, and life became different. Not easier, but clearer. And clarity is something you only appreciate when you've lived without it. I don't regret those years anymore, not even the difficult ones, because they taught me something I wouldn't have learned otherwise. That the person who challenges you the most is not always your enemy. Sometimes, they are the only one showing you the truth. And truth doesn't always feel kind, but it stays. If you're listening to me, I won't tell you to accept difficult people blindly. That's not the point. But I will say this. Before you decide someone is the wrong person, ask yourself one question. What are they showing you that you don't want to see? Because the answer to that might change everything. I'm 99 years old, and the person I spent years calling the wrong one is the reason I finally understood myself.